かったですね。
にライブもあるっていうような形になるんですけど、なんかその講師の方の話では
Okay, it's a new episode of Carmentary. This one is kind of a personal theme because it has a lot to do with something I was part of for about 7 years. I'm going to be talking about the state of radio in Japan. Why is Japanese radio the way it is? This is a topic very personal to me because I worked at a radio station called Air G FM Hokkaido JOFU 80.4 Air G. Yeah, I can still do that. Since from 1991 to about 1997, and even today I continue to do some voice work, jingles and commercials and a few things like that every now and then because I still know many of the people who work at the radio station. So I have an inside view of what goes on behind the scenes and why Japanese radio is the way it is. And I've also been living here for 25 years, and I've listened to the radio here in Hokkaido a lot. And then as I've traveled throughout Japan, I've listened to other radio stations. And it's amazing how similar they all are. I thought, okay, maybe this is only Hokkaido. When I came to Japan and I got the job at the radio station, it was the only FM radio station. That was it. Or maybe NHK. I think NHK, the public service broadcasting system, had both AM and an FM, but the NHK FM is kind of in a genre of its own. As I was working at the radio station, another new station came on board called North Wave, and that was like the second big FM station for Hokkaido. This is an island with 5 million people. You'd think there would be a few more radio stations, but there's a lot of community radio stations in Japan. They're small broadcasters that I think they're limited on how strong their wattage can be, so they can only broadcast to like a 10-kilometer radius or something. Japan is very picky and very tricky with getting the broadcasting licenses, I guess, and it's also probably quite expensive to start up a radio station. And these days, now that internet and downloading music and all this stuff has come along, radio has had a really tough time, and that really kind of started right after I got here in 1991. The economic bubble burst in Japan, and radio stations really started to take a dive as other new ways to listen to music came out. I mean, the iPod, that was huge. Like, radio stations were kind of freaking out because everybody's like, oh, I'll just download my music and listen to it. But radio stations somehow have survived. They still exist, and maybe even now more important than ever. But the theme I want to talk about, and I'm going to have to I'm going to try to be gentle, but I'm going to have to say it the way I feel it. Japanese radio. Japanese FM radio. I'm going to be specific here. I'm not going to diss on AM radio because AM radio is a whole nother thing. I don't know that much about it. And in fact, when I do listen to AM radio, there's a lot of stuff on there I like. But I'm talking about FM radio. FM radio in Japan sucks. Okay, there I said it. If you agree with me or disagree with me, send me a comment. In general, and I'm coming from the standpoint of thinking, we turn on the radio when we're in our cars, like I'm right now, or, at home, but not many people have a radio at home anymore, probably. So a lot of times you're driving or you're trying to, you don't need a lot of distraction. You want to concentrate on something, or you want to, get the time to fly by faster. You turn on the radio, and you would appreciate it if there's some nice music. And you're like, man, I love that track. Yeah, I heard that track years ago. Oh, that's a cool new track. What is that? I want to buy that. That's kind of what radio is to me. And the radio you hear here in Japan is pretty much the extreme opposite of that. Basically, you turn on the radio and you are going to hear someone talking about something. And in general, I'm going to generalize here, but a lot of times it's a very personal topic to that person. Today, to study for this Carmentary episode, I listened to the radio, and the DJ lady told a story between songs. And the story was about how she made sake foil yaki, which is it's a traditional Hokkaido dish where you take salmon and you wrap it in aluminum foil, you put some butter and some onions and some other vegetables in there, and you grill that. And so it gets really juicy, and it's like, ooh, it's delicious. I love it. But she told this story, and I thought, okay, I'm waiting for what's the punchline? Where's the point of the story? And the story was how when she took it out of the grill, she ripped the aluminum foil, and all those juices spilt all over her grill, and she had to then like clean the grill and take it all apart and start all over. And it was such a terrible thing. And then she played the next song. And I was like, well, there you go. That's like the whole thing I'm talking about. Who cares? Who cares about your little petty problems? You know? We're like, there's so many more important things to talk about. But there's always that little, anecdotal sort of stories and notes that these DJs talk about. And it had nothing to do with the music played beforehand or the song coming up. It was just really random. Like, and I'm an editor. I'm a video editor, and I edit all day long. So I'm like always thinking, how can you shorten things down to the bare minimum that you still communicate what you need to communicate and keep people going? Like, get people to the next thing, whether it's the next song, the next topic, whatever. And this is like the exact opposite. You're like turning people off with your meaningless chatter. What? Change the channel, You're losing listeners. And the whole goal of a radio station is to keep your listeners so that they listen to the commercials and you get paid by your sponsors. Okay, see how I start to get heated up on this topic? This is a rough one, I'm telling you. So, that's sort of the first part. The problem I have with the radio here is there's way too much talk, and you're putting off your listeners. You're forcing people away. The other thing is, we're all out here doing our daily lives. We're working, we're in our cars, we're doing things, there's noises going on. It's hectic. We don't have the power to concentrate on every little thing you talk about. So shut up. If it's a song, it can just be in the background. There's someone singing. Maybe it's in a language you don't even know. Play Japanese music. I don't care. I don't care if I don't understand the lyrics. And Japanese people are quite happy to listen to foreign music, and they don't understand the lyrics or all of it. That's what's great about music. It's an international language. You can make people so happy by playing great music. Okay, so now the one problem is there's too much talk. Now the second problem is when they do play music, it's so random. It's so weird. I turn on the radio all the time, and I was a DJ for 7-8 years, and I have a huge record collection, and I know tons of music, and I've listened to music, lots and lots of music. I keep up to date with things. I have daughters, so I know what the latest pop music is. And they'll be playing songs I've never heard of. Never. Like, where did you get that song? So, this comes from the fact that Japanese radio is divided up into shows. It's not one long continuous form of entertainment. It's built and designed just like a TV station. And I think this happened, way back when. Whoever the first person who really said, oh, well, we're going to do radio in Japan. They patterned it after the way you run a TV station. TV stations are divided up into, little sections all the way down to like a 5-minute program. You got 20-minute programs, you've got 30-minute programs, you got hour-long programs, and at the most you'd have like a 2-3 hour long, big drama or documentary or a movie. And radio here is the same way. It's all divided up into shows. So each show has its own host, each show has its own director, each show has its own sponsor. And this is a key point that I wanted to bring up. Foreign American radio, in general, they run commercials, and sponsors pay for the commercial time slots. In Japan, you have commercials, but you also have sponsors like they have on TV shows. So the salesmen for the radio station, they go out and they try to get sponsors for each specific show. So one little show that's 5 minutes long will be sponsored by a beer company. Next show after that will be sponsored by a car company. Kind of like that. And now I notice that my battery is about to run out, so I'll take a break now, and I'll be back with more on this topic momentarily. Okay, folks, we're back for part 2 of Carmentary. Hey, look, I changed cars. How do you like that? I went home, packed up, and I'm heading out for a job. I was talking about radio stations and how they are segmented like TV stations, and we'll continue on that. So there's all these little shows, and the whole day is broken up into little sections. And the salespeople at the radio stations, they go out and they sell the shows to possible sponsors. So you'll have a 5-minute show that's sponsored by some beer company, and the next show will be sponsored by a car company, and so on. And what happens is you have no continuity. There's no continuation from one show to the next. Every show does whatever the hell they want for their sponsor and their audience. And that's all they're thinking about. They're not thinking about the whole station as a whole. So it creates this really jagged listening experience. You'll get a program that plays some rock music and talks, it's like set in a bar and the guy's like talking to other people at the bar. And then 5 minutes later, you'll have like a girl who's like a pop star, and she's like got this gig DJing on the radio, and she talks about like doing her nails and taking pictures with her friends, and then she plays some of her pop music, and it just goes on, and it's really tough to listen for a long period of time. So what you end up doing is you end up finding the shows that you like, just like on TV. And people they'll be fans of one show, and they'll hate the next show, so they'll just listen to one show. And I don't think this is a good thing at all. It doesn't work. TV is a little different. TV, it works because you actually look at the video, and there could be a show that you don't really enjoy that much. It's not really your favorite thing, but once you're hooked and you're watching it, you're like kind of locked on there. Whereas with the radio, it's a purely audio experience, right? So, as soon as the song comes on that you hate, you're just like, oh, get me out of here. Turn off the channel. It's much more powerful in that way. So, we have all these shows. Some of them have fans, and I admit there are amazing radio shows. There's a couple out there. There's a DJ called Peter Barakan, who's a foreigner. He's been in Japan forever, speaks perfect Japanese, and he does a show in Tokyo. It's syndicated around the country at many different radio stations, and he plays the most amazing music, and he has really good commentary, and he, the way he talks about it is fantastic. But it lasts about an hour, and then it's done. And you're like, then who goes around like recording radio shows these days? Now you actually have apps on your smartphones that you can listen to any radio station around the country and any show. So if you really got selective and you picked and choose and found all the cool shows, you could probably program your day to listen to all these little shows that you liked. But you're still having to deal with the beginning, the middle, and the end. Every show has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the other thing they do to kind of create their personality is to have a theme, or as they can say in Japanese, a tema. Kyou no tema wa, today's theme is potatoes. We're going to talk about potatoes today. Send us a fax with what you think about potatoes. Ooh, fantastic. So every show has a theme every day. If it's a daily show, or if it's a weekly show, it's a weekly theme. And they'll have people write in about that theme or make requests related to that theme. So as you listen, maybe you start listening in the morning and you listen all day long, you're hearing 10, so many different themes. The morning show's got their theme, the lunchtime show's got their theme, the afternoon show, they got some other theme, and the nighttime show, oh yeah, completely different theme. So I just get burned out. I listen for a couple hours, I don't listen to a couple hours of radio anymore, I'll tell you that. But when I turn it on, I'm guaranteed to hear today's theme is. So, but you're kind of forced to do that. If you have a show every day and it's like a talk show and you're forced to talk about something, You kind of want to have a theme to talk about. So I understand how that works. But as a total package, I don't think it's a good idea. And in closing, I will go so far as to say, I think the bad radio in Japan, I kind of sound like Trump there, the fake news, the bad radio in Japan is actually a detriment to the economy. I would go so far as to say, if the radio stations all across the country improved, they were a cohesive unit, a team that worked together. Each one, not all the radio stations, but each one had a team, had DJs that, played popular music, and you could turn it on and you knew you were going to hear good music. And they actually talked about, really relatable things and topics, whether it's political or news or whatever. And they did that on a constant basis. And you built up an audience of people who actually work, like the working population. Those are the people who listen to the radio. Why are you pandering to a few select, in my opinion, housewives or elderly people? That seems to be like a large population that listens to the radio. Why not play to the working population who's out there on the job? That the only thing they have to get them through the day is the radio station. They're allowed to play radio at work or in the car when they're driving around, and get them in a good mood. People be pumped, man. Play like really good music. Yeah, oh man, I love this song. Yeah, just Mondays. I love Mondays. But no, this week's theme: why we all hate Mondays. Tell us why you hate Mondays so much, and we'll talk about it on the radio. So I think improving the radio is super important. Hey, in America, #1 economy in the world, right? That can be proven. Google. Great radio stations all over the country. Amazing. Every time I go to America, you turn on the radio, and there's tons of them. You just scan through the dial. Rock, classic rock, funk, pop, urban, hip-hop, black music, whatever. You will find a station that you like, and you'll be like, I haven't heard that song for years. You just start freaking out. And I think that is a key factor in keeping the working population happy and having a strong economy. Okay? So, why I did this one in English, I don't know. This is the kind of thing I need to talk about in Japanese to maybe convince Japan to change their radio stations. Alright, next episode I'll try it in Japanese. In the meantime, I listen to Mixcloud, which is an amazing app and website. They have radio shows from all over the world, and you can search for the type of music you like. They have talk shows, they got everything. And you can just play non-stop music. It's all free. There's a little advertising in there. But amazing app and website. So if you want to just really listen to music, I think that's the way to go right now. But I hope that at some point, radio will return to what it should be. And what it, I don't know if it ever once was, but what it should be. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next time on Carmentary. I wonder what car I'll be driving in next.